Is cyberpunk still relevant as a genre? I wrote this book called Chasing Filthy Lucre 14 years ago. I wrote a sequel soon after that called Finding Faded Light. There's a short story that was written just after the sequel called Digicity, and I've always classified each of those books as cyberpunk books because I think they have a lot of the classic high-tech, low-life themes that are prevalent in cyberpunk books, but maybe you tell me if I'm wrong here. The story of Chasing Filthy Lucre and the subsequent books after that follow a guy named Weber Rexall. Weber Rexall is a former cop and a former soldier. He lives in a place called New Eden, and New Eden has kind of fallen apart. There was sort of an uprising in the government. Some people thought they could run things better than the people that were in power. They couldn't, things fell apart, and in their place, in sort of that vacuum of authority, a large mega corporation, RomaCorp, has kind of risen up to take over. The story really follows Rexall as he tries to find his way through the society. He kind of gets wrapped up into a conspiracy and a plot to overthrow RomaCorp that he never planned to be in, and the story kind of runs from there. The things that I've always thought about it as cyberpunk, that makes this story cyberpunk, is some of the technology inside of it. As a cop and a soldier, Rexall has a port put into him that sends brains and messages, sends data and messages to his head. It's a port that's in his elbow. Wires and electronics run through his head. It's explained in the story. Run to his head, and that way people can communicate with him instantly like that. This is a technology that sort of went from the military and the police force out into the wider public, and now lots of people have them. The ports typically come with a governor on them that keeps you from using them in the wrong ways, but there are ways to crack those. A lot of the soldiers, to deal with the things that they saw in the service, and the police officers and the law enforcement that use the things that they saw, to deal with that, they've cracked the governor, and they intake what is called dirty data. Essentially, it's a drug. It's data as a drug, and they spend a lot of the time sort of just zoned out and drooling and just to deal with the fact that they saw things that they didn't want to see. That's, to me, what makes this story cyberpunk. But what I'm curious about is, if you're a cyberpunk fan, do you agree? And also, has cyberpunk itself, has technology advanced to a point where all of the things that made cyberpunk so appealing 30, 40 years ago is actually real life now? And so it's maybe not, it doesn't have the appeal because it doesn't feel fanciful enough or out there enough or futuristic enough. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.